welcome to the Town of Darien Sewer Commission special meeting agenda of Tuesday, August 16th, 2002. We are in room 206 of Town Hall, and we are calling the meeting to order at 4:32 p.m. First item on the agenda is to approve our minutes of July 5.
I looked, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, they looked good to me.
That sounds like a motion.
It is, it's a motion.
And a second?
Yes,
Okay, we got
grammar's not my
first
forte.
by Susan, second by Bob. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Item number 3, setting of sewer user fees. Take us through your math and thinking.
I like the way you presented it.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting better at it.
No, I,
8 years it took me to get
You know
this
the
down.
audience you're trying to appease.
Get a feel for what you folks want to see.
yeah,
That's good.
I like the way this.
That's good.
So, yes, for the benefit of the public and our minutes and our conversation, what you got?
So, what I gave you my page 1 of 10, was my outline speak, kind of talking points and things like that to
Okay.
show you past history, show you where we're going, some math on some of the costs that we have coming our way, and so on. But I'd like to jump into the next page first. It's kind of our standard. Let's get the comparison out of the way here so you can understand where we're headed. So, up top was our payments to the city of Stamford. Next line down at $4,146,000 is our expenditures for the year, closed out. I stuck the original budget next to it. I wanted to show you that we were under budget.
Yeah, but we're also extremely close. That's kudos to you.
Yeah.
Not gonna take credit where it's not due.
Kudos
Once in a
to
while,
you.
that Mother Nature doesn't rain really hard, and we don't have to pay the city of Stamford a lot, so we were
Still,
fortunate.
The harder
kudos-
you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
Just smiling when I say kudos to you and take it.
Thank you. So our total revenue for this past year, I like to do the before and after, so that's 87,000 is going to be returned to our reserve account. And I always like to throw in the yield, how much do we actually pay the city of Stamford out of that entire sewer fund
2/3.
budget? It's 67%.
Has that always been about that ish?
Gotta ask the hard question.
Yeah,
I just think
you know
it is.
what?
I remember it being about.
On my spreadsheet, there's a place for notes. I have each year that I've been here, showing each one. Unfortunately, you don't get to see that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty close. It ranges from 58, I think, up to, I think it was like 79 one year, or it's pretty darn
Was
close
that
to
the year
six.
you questioned them, the priors and the extra stuff came off the balance sheet?
Probably.
I think it was more along the lines of, we had to pay more because of some rainfall issues that we had and higher usage of water, which caused us to have to pay more.
So I just have to say this because I'm me. So the $2,820,000, basically $1,410,000 is I&I. Because basically half of the water we send somewhere is the
Except we
water
have
we
a,
use.
we have a minimum.
You're raining
No,
on my
no,
parade
no,
here, Bob. You're raining on my parade here, literally.
No pun intended, no pun intended.
We're gonna get to those numbers.
Sorry,
I always like showing those numbers.
Yeah, but the people who just watch the first 5 minutes, I want them to know.
Good for you.
All right, so going down to the box below it, I'd like to show you what our expenditures and are proposed, of course. Capital and operational. Our revenues that are projected, other than our sewer user fees. So I show you what we need to cover for the upcoming year, $4,066,135. And then I, of course, start with the rate comparison for FY '23. I start with the existing rate. And then I try to kind of pick a few percentages along the way that you'd like to see. So once I saw where I was at the existing rate, I didn't think I was gonna go much higher than 3, though I threw out a 3.8 in there, and so I gave you a kind of variance. You know, I'll do any number you want me to do, but I kind of gave you a flavor for about 6 different percentages in there, and what could be turned back to the reserve. I'm not recommending, of course, the 696. I think that's a little excessive. I do like the 2% to the 3% range in there somewhere. So I think we talked about this last couple of years on maybe not waiting so long, maybe doing a little bit each year, but, you know, that seemed last year to be the sense. But I think 2%, 3% is not unheard of, but those are the numbers that I have for you right there. So before we dig into those, Craig is biting his lip, so I'm gonna move down a little bit.
Keep talking, or I'm gonna start talking.
Yes. So we have the residential, commercial water usage. I want to show you that, our accounts. I used to give you the differential so that you can see. I do put it in blue below so you can also compare it to last year's numbers. We did have a reduction in water use of about 26,000 CCF, almost 20 million gallons. We did add 10 customers. Of course, the average went up just a little bit. But that's kind of what that is showing you on that chart.
If you had to take like the 10,000 foot snapshot, the new builds, there'll be less I&I, hopefully, per unit, per building.
We've done some very small improvements, but they were some very large flows. So I'm saying small as in, we fixed some leaks that were running even when it was dry weather type thing.
But I mean more like when the Heights comes online and Corbin comes online, there'll be revenue that's 100% non-I&I related-ish.
Correct, and part of the sewer replacement on Corbin fixed one of our issues, right? So, you know, those are little, like I said, little things that are controlling that. We have a big project we'll talk about in a little while in Old Kings Highway South. We also have the engineer starting to look at the next phase. That's the piece where you're gonna start to see your benefits, because we're gonna go after the two largest sections first. And then go down from there. Let's see. So on page 3 of 10, I did give you our accounting. Our budgeted for FY '23 along with our expenses. I wanted to show you that. Our capital expenses that we're including in this year's upcoming budget. Our revenue, which I thought was pretty interesting, we had a really good collection of our sewer charges, which was good. You see our previous year's sewer permits, even the interest and liens, interest on investment for sewers, they all pretty much have been running the same for the last, I'd say 3 years. So it really comes down to our sewer service charges. You folks understand what all those items are, right?
One question, the sewer service charges also include connection fees?
You know, we just started to collect those. I don't know where she's put that yet. I will, if I have to, I'll add a line in there, but I'm
Hard to
assuming
predict
it's
that
under this,
revenue.
it may end up under the sewer permits,
Okay.
but we will check with that. I don't even know how many we've collected so far, but it's a handful at best.
Couple.
So I'll be able to show you that.
As interest rates start to move, the money held in the reserve account, is that interest bearing at all? The $2 million or whatever?
I believe it is.
Would that start to be a line item if it?
It is. Last one.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay, got it.
Okay.
That might be higher
Connection fees.
this year.
Where do you see that?
Interest
Last
on
line,
investment.
third section down.
The
In-
budget for this
in-
year is
on in-
1,200.
But that's-
Slash sewer.
That was 22.
Yeah, but 23 is projected
23
at
is-
lower.
Should
might-
project to be lower. Well, but you look at the reserve, and we're gonna use some of the reserve.
That's true. Balance gets lower.
So the last section, I think, is the one we're all really interested in. We like to keep an eye on this. This is what we have in our reserves. All of the accounts that are open. What we don't, what you won't see is the transfers for any of the capital work for this year, which is that 177,600, the second capital expense, I'd say, area where I added up all the capitals, that you won't see that in here yet. And what you won't see is the transfer to the fund balance of the additional 87,000, I think I was under budget by. Yeah, 87,352. So that wouldn't be in here. As you see, I took the balances as of July 14th. And I do give you this, kind of give you an idea of what we've done since FY '12. Just so you get if you're interested, you get a look back at some of our budget seasons, how they've gone. Always taking a good hard look at our sewer treatment line item. That's always the one that pays Stanford. The other ones seem to be pretty consistent, unless I have a capital request in there that's quite large. I think there was one in there for a vac truck at one year. And sheet 5, you're gonna see the graph that I always like to look at. This kind of gives you an idea of where we're headed. At the far end of the graph, under the end of FY '22, like I said, what you won't see is the uptick from the money that goes back to the fund balance, because it's not in there yet. But you will see the green revenue above the red expenses. Back actually on the positive side for the budget.
I mean, at what rate is that green? I mean,
It's the revenues for the year.
yeah, but I mean, is it based on the
Current.
way it is today?
Yes.
Yeah, what we
Yeah.
collected in FY '22.
Yeah, okay.
And the red is what we paid out
Yeah,
in FY '22.
sure.
So was that spike that one year, 20, was that rain related, 1920, or expenses?
I think
Cost
there
of
was
Stanford?
some legacy stuff that we had to pay Stanford that we had.
Yeah, that was
oh,
when we
had
added
building for a while.
the crossings.
Yep,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a catch-up.
Yeah,
you see, I think that,
Because then that year was 3.3, I think,
and if you did,
if I recall.
if you did that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
Probably would've,
Yeah, the reality,
Or whatever,
right,
yeah.
right, this was a trough, and that's a, yeah.
yeah, I think that's the year it
Yeah,
jumped up to
3.35.
3.3 million.
Yep.
We're paying 2.8 right now. So that was a pretty big difference for us to handle, almost $500,000. That's 5, 6, I gave you a copy of my budget for the last 2 years, all the way back to FY '11. As you see, I keep track of this as far back as I can get the information. This is where we started when I got here. Bob had kind of built a spreadsheet, not Bob Steger. And I just kept it going. I add to it, I make some adjustments, I add line items as we go, so it's a really good snapshot at history. At any time, I can go back and take a look. Page 7 is our FY '22 flow report that I send to the city of Stamford. And I gave you the previous year,
That's
the
a big.
next page. So what I'm showing you here is we had a flow increase in FY '22. Well, basically, we had 2 very, very large storms also. So I want you to take a look, if you would, at July 2021. 99 mg in that, during that month, which is just
Which is that, what that was, Ida, no, that was
Elsa.
Elsa,
Elsa, and
Elsa.
go down 2 lines to September,
and that's
you'll
Ida.
see 95.
Yeah, and the August in between was 60.
Yeah, so
So those big storms.
if you take out those 2 big storms, you're right back at where we were around 790 the year previous.
Got it,
So I wanted to show you that.
yeah.
So we're gonna end up paying for that a little bit this year, when the invoice from Stanford comes in.
Well, that's assuming that their flow didn't go up too, because we pay a percentage.
But Bob, we pay dearly. This is, yeah, you're right, percentage-wise, it'll go up, but we have to keep up with that also, you know.
Is there a penalty for
Well,
a
what
surcharge?
we have learned, looking at numbers in the past, is that on a kind of per capita or per unit mile basis, Stanford has less I&I than Darien. At least that's the numbers we looked at in the past when we were in these negotiations. And so when I&I comes in, it is disproportionately affecting our system right now over their system. So I would say it might even worsen our percentage. Even
That's
though their
generally what we've
denominator-
been
Their
seeing.
denominator goes up, but not by as much as our numerator is going.
Range,
Okay.
we pay more.
For now, until we get these jobs done.
You're absolutely correct.
He's bleeding.
Okay, so, two little pieces of information here for you. Actually, the other one you know about already. So I have, the agreement all signed for the Clean Water Fund. I got that notification on July 14th. We hadn't had a meeting since then. I wanted to bring you up to date on that, because it will impact that very first page of my presentation when we go back and take a look. I've already already collected all the invoices. I have the letter written. I have everything set. There is just some terminology in their cover letter that I can't fill in, so I've reached out to Kimberly Forbes at the DEP and just looking for a little bit of guidance on a couple account numbers to make sure I get them right.
So let's hone in on that. If things go well, when would you expect to receive that check, and what is the size of it?
They say they pay within 2 weeks after receiving, so I need to get it in by the second day of the month. They generally take 2 weeks to cut a check and send it to you.
All right, so September.
I'm hoping, if I hear back from her,
Yeah.
unfortunately, takes a while to get back to us on occasion. So, with that said, we're looking at about $350,000.
And
Of
that
the
would go
690.
into the revenue side of this,
It'll go back into the account we're using to pay
Yeah.
Arcadis out of, basically.
So this is the 379, 452.15 we should get back?
You're quoting a number that I don't know.
It's on your first page.
You're back to that again?
Clean Water Fund Grant,
Yes.
55%.
I wanna answer correctly. Hold on one second.
So instead of.
Halfway down?
Yep. Clean Water Fund Grant, 55%, 379, 452.15. It won't be that entirely because we didn't spend it all yet.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Okay, we have money left over that we're gonna put towards doing some
Their
more
next
work.
design. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, but
That's
I guess instead of plus 87, really it's like plus 400.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
You'll see it in the
Okay.
revenue account
Okay.
of,
I can live with that.
Yeah.
I can already see the squashing the percentage.
just make a note.
But you gotta look at the pretty graph there. Look at the reserve plunging.
Okay,
No
so,
argument yet.
and the last page is what we were,
You might
Just gotta
agree,
get-
you might agree this time.
Yeah, we might.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
think he's mad there weren't more columns.
Colors?
No, columns,
Can you
choices.
do this in video next time?
so the last page, before we go back and open up for discussion, is the phasing for the I&I construction improvements. And phase one, we have and we'll talk about a little bit more later as an update, but that's gonna start soon. We have a pre-con meeting coming, and then phase two, we're already underway with the beginning of the design.
With an estimated result, cross your fingers, who knows, of 800,000 gallons per day of inflow and infiltration.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's, like I said, we went after the big one first.
That's only 240 million a year.
But phase two looks like better bang for the buck, cost-wise,
Oh, in terms of gallons per
Yeah,
dollar kind of thing.
yeah. And phase three.
It's good. I'm
Yeah.
very excited. Can't you tell?
That's
Yeah, that sounds like.
where I am. Now, back to page one, just to kick you through this, so you understand what I look at before I actually talk about any type of recommendations, looking at our water use. You could see this year we decreased, the year before there was an increase, so we're running around 600 CCF, in that range every year, 560, 580. We had one historic year at 660 in 2017, but that was odd. But we're running in that range, so you get an idea of where we are. Now, this is the part I think I like the best, because it still shows that we have some work to do, but it's been pretty consistent. Every year I do these numbers. I&I impacts, what we send to the city of Stamford, and what our water use is. And
Double.
I apologize, that should be FY '22. Sorry about that.
And that's also water use that could be sprinklers, et cetera, other stuff, when you think
No,
about it.
that water use,
Yeah, this is
No,
November
the
through
No, I
sprinklers
take-
wouldn't go into the system.
Right, I know we've annualized it, but still.
yeah,
there's
I
other
mean,
use.
it's not precise, but
Right.
it's a good gauge, it's a good way to take a look at
I
this,
think
so.
the thing that was interesting to me was the 612 number in FY '22 was a reflection of water meter data that's older. It was really the pandemic, everybody being home, using more water. And now that's gone back to closer to historic levels.
Just then the update on the
say
Clean
that?
Water Fund, we spoke
No,
about
no.
that. Right now, they're,
Reese was saying the sprinkler system, if that's part of the usage in the water use, say it was 19 that the sprinkler system was. So then the 49% is actually over 50%. It's the other way. So if you throw in sprinkler system,
Yeah,
it makes
yeah.
it look even worse.
There's probably some flow in there that doesn't actually end up down the drain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, some
I
of
agree.
the water usage
Yep.
that doesn't make it, so that would, just for giggles, say it took it down to 420, so 420 out of 455, it'd be like 53% that is I&I.
That was my argument.
Quote unquote, clean water going to the,
Yep.
that we're paying for to transfer to Stanford and then paying for when it gets to Stanford.
Yep, so There's electricity to run the pumps.
Sorry.
sorry, good discussion. But what it shows you over the last couple of years is we're still running at about 50% of our flow to the city of Stamford is.
So
Fixable.
the public hearing would be September. Do we have time to publish?
Barely.
6.
September 6th. And really, the decision we need to make tonight is how to advertise the public hearing. And in the past, we have, said something like sewer commission is considering, raising the sewer user fees, up to
Yeah.
blank. And then we save our fisticuffs for September 6th, after hearing public comment, which is appropriate if there is any. But just to put my flag on the ground, I would say my minimum increase
What are you looking at me for?
How about max? We just need the maximum, Craig.
is, I know.
What are you talking?
My minimum increase is to 680, or 1.5%, 1.49%.
Okay.
Because that just gets us in the black.
Okay.
On a projected
I get that.
basis.
Yes.
I get that.
And I kinda
logic.
like that. So I could do that. I could do maybe one step up from that to give us a little contingency buffer. That's kind of the range that I'm in, 1.49 to 2.09. That's where my head is at.
Okay.
Well, what's the thinking on that? Just don't hurt people with an increase too high? Too much?
Yeah, I mean, it's not our money, we should set a budget based on the expenses that we need to pay for, and, we're doing a phenomenal job, I think appropriately managing, the sewer user fee revenue that's generated. I think we get a tremendous amount of bang for our buck. I think we have a plan in the near years that will cost some money and require some bonding, but hopefully a plan in the out years that ultimately saves us money, knocking this I&I down and these maintenance costs down. I'm always one for, you charge what you need to charge. The idea of socking money away never really made sense to me, given our effectively tax base. You look at the town-wide budget, they're not looking to sock money away every year, right? They're looking to come up with a budget and set a mill rate based on necessary expenses, and they have a much larger budget to deal with than we do. So, yeah.
However, it looked like the reserve was fairly even, and
Yeah,
now
we have,
it's
but the
dropped off
the
considerably.
87 isn't in there yet, and the reimbursement from the DEP isn't in there yet.
Yeah, but we're looking at 2 million,
the
2 million
87
five,
is,
and that's
isn't it?
not going to have that big of a uptick in the,
Okay.
And that money coming back from the DEP is gonna go into construction costs for phase 3.
Yeah, it's just
So
gonna
not
roll
the
forward.
reserve.
So it really never hits the reserve fund.
Yeah, but if we look at page 3 of 10, and the bottom line of page 3 of 10,
Three.
without the 87 and without the 300 plus reimbursement, it went down by, call it 170.
Which line?
Bottom line on page 3 of 10. These are all the money sitting in all of our accounts.
Oh, the totals,
Yeah,
okay.
Right, and so it went down from July 26, 2021, 2.287 million,
Yep,
to July 14th, 2022, 2.117 million. So
170,000.
170,000, but we know we're gonna put 400 in there.
But that's
But
being
it's gonna
rolled,
be used.
that's being rolled forward to construction.
yeah.
So
that'll
it
get
really,
used up.
does it really go in there?
Yeah.
Is that the idea? Okay.
That money, that's why you don't see it on here as part of the reserve at all. That's either earmarked for our design, or it's gonna be earmarked for our construction.
So the question in my mind is basically half, a reserve of half of what our annual operating expense is reasonable.
Okay.
So if that's the case, then we need to replenish the $170,000, in which case we need to take it up to the possible, 2.99. And then you're not even still doing that. So I would propose up to the 2.99, the 690.
I would agree, because I'm looking at the the idiot sheet. And it just seems like your reserve, our reserve, has dropped off considerably, and it might be.
The datum on the graph.
Yeah, look at the scale on the graph is a little,
But
it's a little
that's,
distorted deliberately.
true, it's not
It's a little
going to-
distorted.
Okay.
It is. What you don't see though, remember, Bob, and to your point, you're looking at those numbers, there's 87,000 that's gonna come back in. So it's not 170 you're looking to replenish, it's about 90.
which still isn't covered by the 2.99.
Right.
Just throwing that
Even
out there.
without my glasses on, it's not
Exactly.
But
covered.
that's also, yeah, but you're making a choice, to fund out of the reserve fund essentially, that first phase project
And I-
versus asking for additional bonding.
Well, that's a good point. There is money in there for me to do that if we had to, and if I didn't want to do the bonding, I want to finish phase 3. There's money in that second line, if you see, designated for capital equipment. I could have that
Yeah.
reinstated and move someplace else.
Yeah.
But I gave you the water readings for a reason, to show you that this year may have been a good year, next year it may be a little bit more expensive, not extremely expensive, but a little bit more expensive, so, you know, an idea on what it could impact is the reserve, of course.
So you would like to publish the public notice up to 2.99% and whatever rates that indicates.
Up to 690 per CCF, and/or a 2.99% increase.
You know, but just like, it's been many years since all of us have sat here. What is the reserve fund? What was the original concept behind it?
Yeah.
Was it for replacement in a catastrophe if everything got wiped out in a hurricane, to have some money available immediately? Was it in a time before bonding was the solution going forward? What's just, because it's always, I'm,
question.
we, Craig and I have looked at this differently. I'm a squirrel that loves to put nuts everywhere. I'm just built that way. It's a real flaw. It's not a modern world kind of thing. So for me, that's a
Well,
buffer.
for an individual or a business owner, I think it makes sense, but when you have, 5,700 ratepayers, it's a little different in terms of.
But if I'm gonna be a fiduciary, I'm gonna certainly see it through my prism.
Yeah, sure.
And that is why we have this
Yeah.
tension debate, and it's not a negative thing at all. I think it's wonderful. And it helps me, Craig, a lot. But where did it come from when 1938 or whenever the sewers?
And why have a reserve fund? And
What was the concept?
what problem are we trying to
Well,
solve with
Yeah.
the reserve fund?
What does it do?
He's been trying
I mean-
to interject.
I haven't been here that long. I was not here in 1937. But I had another thought. I mean, is the reserve fund a contingency fund? For example, let me, this is really crazy, but suppose something happened, somebody decided to blow up the Stanford facility. Could happen. What happens? FEMA comes in? Do we go out and get 492 porta potties? I mean,
What would,
Lot of
what would
storage.
prob-
What do we do?
what would probably happen is you would get tanker truckloads of sodium hypochlorite and drip feed it to the water going out. So you would,
well,
that
where's the
would
water
be,
going out
it
to?
would be
Basically,
going out to Long Island Sound.
You
The one
disinfect
thing-
it to the best of your ability,
Yes.
and it would go to Long Island Sound, and
Yes.
we'll have a better solution.
I mean, just rhetorically, should we develop some sort of crazy contingency plan?
It would
Well,
be,
no, no,
it
so
would be
that-
astronomical.
is that-
You need enough to react in the near term, so that you can hire people in the near term. So you can call someone up at the middle of the
Yeah.
night and say, we need a mile force main, and we need pumps, and we need
Okay.
generators, and get your butt here.
And does that give you enough
But,
money to do that?
if you're dealing with an emergency condition that's gonna be well-known, ultimately,
Yeah, of
you're
course.
gonna go to through the process and get the money.
I mean, the
I
case,
mean-
the case study is Greenwich, when the force main on, is it Strickland Road, had an issue, and they put 28 million gallons into the Mianus River. And what they did was they chlorinated it. I mean, that's the best
Yeah,
you
all
can
right.
do.
But I mean, is our contingency fund, whatever you wanna call it, I mean, how adequate is that? I mean, or is
Again,
that,
it's-
or are we
Is
just sort of
it for disaster
speculating?
mitigation or to smooth the bumps out along the way when capital projects come and go? I mean, you see it more that way. to
Yeah, I
smooth
think
the bumps out.
you got something that you isolate that needs to get done in the short term, you
I
don't
got
have
the money.
time to do the
Budgeting.
normal fiscal process.
Just,
Got it.
just for giggles, how much was the tractor trailer generator for a month?
Too much.
$5,000 a month?
Okay,
Uh,
what was
15
the
grand a month.
number?
Right.
35, 50?
It was 5,000
Week, a
a
month?
month,
A month.
Oh, that's not bad.
I believe, it was a lot.
I don't consider 5,000 a month a lot.
For what, for its utility.
Because-
I know of a transformer that's 42,000 for a month.
Yeah.
There aren't any right now.
I'm gonna
Do-
tell you how
do you
big the
think
part
that-
was they had to put in.
Do you think,
Yeah, that's always the case.
do you think
Little
that
part
eight-
cost me 10 grand.
Do you think that 8% inflation is gonna affect this particularly?
Of course it is, especially with materials. I mean, we're getting hard air and fuel, electricity. It's interesting to hear you folks talk amongst yourself as you're asking me this question, because you're all answering it for me. It's for all those things you just mentioned. It really is. It's for capital. It's for emergencies if you need a stopgap between something. It's for operational. Come back with something like Stanford all of a sudden wanted to build something brand new over there, and then we got hit hard by something. That contingency or that reserve was something that Bob had started to build up when they started doing the plant, knowing that we had to make a payment, a large payment. That, that's as far back as my history can go with this. It's as far back as I know. My thought has been, I'm a little bit like Reese. Sorry, Craig, but I do like to store a little bit away, but I also lean towards your side also. I don't want to hold people's money if I don't have to. But what we've seen over the last couple of years is the unpredictability of a lot of things, Mother Nature being one of them. Some of our equipment being others, right? We just had to rent a generator. We had to do, those are things that I had to find money for and pay for out of this. And I find that the reserve, where it is right now, I'm comfortable. I'd like to keep it around there. I'd like 2.5. It makes me feel good. When I started here, I think it was 4.
Yeah.
But I started taking money out of there and putting it into our equipment. It was nice to be able to do that without hitting the rates at that time. Remember the first couple of years, we didn't touch the rates. So it's for all the things you folks just described. It really is. It keeps us balanced here when something goes unbalanced on us.
I mean, as one of the 5,700 ratepayers, I would much rather keep it on a slow, steady increase than a big spike some year. So I as a ratepayer, don't have an issue with there being a 50% reserve from the operating expenses.
There is
nice
a
way to
part of
look
me
at it.
that looking to the future, looking at the projects we're going to be doing, looking at our I&I program and that construction that's gonna come along, I'd like one time to be able to come in here and say, we could knock this down a little bit if we had to. Because we just sucked out of the 400 million gallons we're sending over there, we just took 200 right out of it. And we're at the lowest percentage we can get in our contract. That's what I like to be able to say one time.
But even if
It's
we're
coming.
at 2 and the inflation's 8, we are,
Yeah.
depending on how you look at it, staying below the curve.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true too.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
well,
reduce
COLA
the,
last year was 5.9, and we're talking about
Right.
2.99. What rate?
of course, if you reduce the flow rate enough to Stanford, the unit rate will go up.
It will, but we do have a bottom, or
I mean,
Yeah,
when
we're
when
stuck
the
at 12.
contract's over, it'll,
We'll stick at 12. And that's why I show you the percentage to the city of Stanford, right? That's a
Well-
pretty big cut of our operating budget.
Yeah.
well, you're sitting
Do you
there,
know-
you see it all, and I think your judgment is great, yeah.
Do you know where
You gotta,
You know where we are at, compared to the 12? Like, are we at 13.5, are we at 14, do you know?
We were at 1396, I think, last year. I think that's what it was. It was
So-
right, it was just before 14, I believe.
And years it really rained.
But it was 15 something above that, so we're coming back down
Two
again.
divided by
But if
Well,
the
that's-
numbers that,
That's a 16% savings on.
but if the
you're
numbers
able to
on,
get 12.
on page 10 are correct, we will sink below that, and we will
Yes.
be doing that just out of the goodness of the environment, which
Well-
I have no problem
Oh,
with.
no, yeah, no, I mean, it saves us a lot of different, in a lot of different ways.
That phase two is really gonna be huge.
Uh,
Stony Brook phase two.
No, but I'm
Yeah.
saying it's below, it's not gonna
Yeah,
save
yeah.
us the cost to Stanford.
But it
We're
buys
doing-
us room in our systems and, it's a whole bunch of reasons.
Well.
But, no overflows, no, no wear and tear.
No visits.
2820, so 16%.
I don't
Our
wanna,
regulatory folks.
2820.
I don't know who you deal with, Susan Unger, I deal with
So-
Susan Unger and Craig Metaski.
So if we got down to 12% from 14%,
Okay.
that's $450,000 a year.
Divide that by 5,500 customers, I think, was it 57, 56?
57, I threw 57 out, but.
Oh, we could just freeze the rates for 5 years. That's where you're headed.
We have
What do I-
54.
Well, we could give Ed and,
More.
we could give Ed and Darren $1 a year
$83
raise,
each a
too.
year.
Penny, we need to keep Penny. If Penny ever goes on the trading desk, we're gonna work that out.
Well, I mean, well, 450 on our overall budget, right? If our overall budget's like 4 and change, or maybe it's whatever, it's 10, it's more than 10% of our budget staring at us in the face and maybe within reach. And so you can absorb a lot of rate increases in that 10%.
So I'll make a motion, because I think we could keep kicking this can for a
Yes.
while.
Fine.
Make a motion to raise the sewer usage rate for the year 23,
Well,
22,
we're making a motion
23,
to advertise.
up to,
Yeah,
no,
for the
up
public hearing.
to
Yeah, yeah.
$6.90 per CCF, or a 2.99% increase.
I just want to point, I want to make sure we're on the right item
Line?
as we go down.
Yep.
We were talking about number 3.
Yeah,
I think are we making a
Oh.
motion for number 3, or are we making a motion for number 4?
Oh, yeah, we are on, okay, so we were done with our discussion on number
Sorry.
3, and we are voting to schedule a public hearing under number 4.
Okay.
And Bob has made a motion to schedule the public hearing for September 6th, based on the notice that lets the public know we're considering a rate increase up to $6.90 per CCF, or a 2.99% increase over current rates.
And I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. All right, item number 5.
and kudos to administration for the presentation.
Yes,
Yeah,
well
well done.
documented, well done. Yes, we have it's nice, actually,
That was number 4.
to have such a clear picture of where we are and where we're headed, at least in the near term. Some years it is a little bit like, but this year it's not. It's all in black and white on paper. Obviously, some things can change, but,
It's always a bit of a moving target,
yeah.
but.
But I think this year is
I
more
think-
focused than.
As you can see
others.
from last year's numbers, he did an exceptional job.
Yeah, it's true.
Let me,
Or
is there
administration did.
anything else you'd like to see? Because I just picked up that, you asked me what percentage we pay to the city of Stanford.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to add that.
Yeah, that it would be helpful.
Maybe the rainfall data, but you saw that with the MGD and those some storms pops, those two Ida and anyway, so I guess that,
Yeah, you could put
The year over year.
monthly rainfall in Bridgeport next to it, but yeah, that's a lot.
no,
Yeah.
So far this year, it's
Could add
been
that.
rather
It's been dry.
meager, right?
yeah.
It's been very dry.
I know, I got turned my sprinklers on.
Okay,
You don't have sprinklers.
all right.
I
God
got my
put
own
them
well.
in. Not well.
Well,
What do I
I'll pay
think?
for it. We're supposed to the electricity running the pump.
Hold
Let
on.
me do all the talking. Dan.
Thank you, God.
Yeah. The Aquarian can't come tell me to turn my water off.
Is it in here? Not in here. Okay, that's a legal notice.
I was counting on some
Whenever-
water this
whenever they're
week,
ready.
but we're not gonna get
Okay.
it.
Yeah, no, I gotta.
I'll do 5
Yep.
and 6.
sprinklers?
5 and 6.
All right, let's keep trucking here. I'd
Find
love to
my
get out.
sprinkler.
I don't know about you all, but item number 5, septic system installation with sewer availability, discussion and action. There's a story here. Tell it to us.
It's a good one, must be.
There's a little bit of a story. We saw an application come across our desk from planning and zoning which showed septic system designed and proposed for a residential development that were in an area where a sewer is available. And Sewer Commission has the right to force anybody to connect to the sewer for any or no reasons, as far as I know, always have with the general statutes, and the Code of Ordinance reflects the general statutes, which says, and as a matter of fact, Stanford, I believe, has a rule, they build a sewer, you must connect.
Did you comment on that application?
I did, and it kind of went away. Now they're connecting to the sewer, but
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's-
Brought it up for discussion.
it's a question, it's a good question, because there's other questions, there's other applications, there's other possibilities, like, hypothetically, let's say there was a sewer system that can only handle so much. And maybe there's enough land left over where you could supplement with septic system. Maybe you have a hybrid system where you folks say, I'm sorry, you can't connect to our sewer because there's too much sewage already. We don't have the capacity in our system. And the applicant says, hey, no problem, we have enough land. We could do a community septic system or individual septic systems. In a case like that, Ed and I discussed it, and he came to the conclusion, which makes perfect sense to me, that if you don't have the sewer capacity, well, then the sewer's not available, right? But if a sewer
It's a
is
different
available,
discussion, yeah.
if a sewer is
So
available,
let's focus on that.
Yeah,
what's that?
Let's focus on that
Yeah.
specific
If
question.
the sewer is available and there is
To me,
capacity.
so here's the thing. It gets into public health and environmental health. If there is any concern over the performance of the septic system, or you know, is it a non-compliant reserve system, right, that doesn't quite comply with full health code? Is a lot less than 2 acres in size, really, because when you talk about nitrogen loading, you need about 2 acres of rainfall to dilute the nitrogen in the septic system. So, you know, is it close to wetlands and watercourses? Is it close to the shore, right? So to me, there's environmental and health reasons to require a connection, but I don't know if I could set a policy.
What does the health department say?
Well, interestingly, they will happily entertain a septic application. And they're actually, I don't think the commission cares about this, but just to illustrate the point, there have been applications where someone's putting an addition on their house, or putting a swimming pool in, or adding a bedroom. And the health department will review a septic system, an existing septic system upgrade, even though a sewer might be available. I can tell you the health department has been here before and has asked the commission to force people to connect in a circumstance that you described, where they perceive there to be impaired water quality, et cetera. So in that case, the commission came down on the side of, yeah, well, if you see a health issue with the septic system, condemn it, and we'll be happy to let them connect, but we're not going to make them go
Yeah.
forward. And
I mean, you
connect.
could probably, it would take some time to tease out what a policy might sound like, right? Like, you know, is it in the, you know, properties less than 1 acre in size in a coastal zone would be a priority for connecting to available sewers, right? Like, you would have to.
Wetland soils.
Yeah, you'd have to look at,
Known.
you know, some
Soil
criteria,
topography.
right? But if you've got, you know, if you're up in the hinterlands and you've got 4 acres and you got nice soils, even though there's a sewer out front, it's your choice, I would think. I would always hook up to the sewer.
Are we saying there is not enough sewer capacity?
We're not saying that,
We're not saying
no.
Oh, okay.
We're saying that could be an instance, but that's not what we were talking about here. The
so-
only thing they compare it to is, I know the city of Stamford has that, if you're within 700 feet or whatever of a sewer, you're required to tie into it.
Wow.
But
Absolutely.
let me just
You like
wrap
that?
my head around
I
this,
do.
because it
It's
doesn't,
interesting.
I'm missing something, because financially, it doesn't make any sense, because you, number one, have to build the septic system, plus have room for a backup system, correct?
Let's maintain it.
You have to need a reserve area.
Let's
Yeah.
Deal
Where's it-
deal
so-
with it every time you did anything with your
So
property.
whatever area times 2, plus you need to build it,
Where I would see
plus
it,
you need to pump it out every 18 months.
where I would see it coming in, Bob, is this. So someone's got a system that's performing poorly. And, you know, contractor comes in and says, oh, we can do X, Y, and Z to help move it along. And it's only 5 or 10 grand to do this next incremental piece of work. But it's 20 grand to do the full hookup to the sewer, so the homeowner has this incentive to try to, you know, put the Band-Aid on it. And that would be an instance where I would hope the health department would come in and say, we're not gonna entertain a repair
Yeah.
on a system when you have a sewer available.
So one
But
of the,
unfortunately, it's the health department's call unless
Yeah.
we're interjecting for
But I
some
that's-
way, somehow.
But I think that's almost where it should be, right? They're the ones focused on public health and water quality and the testing of water quality, right?
Well, yes, but they're checking for the nitrogen load and the phosphorus load, because phosphorus
and-
inland is
The
the,
pathogens.
yeah, the E. coli, yeah.
and the perk rate in the soil and the subsurface conditions. I think that your argument, the way I heard it about something you went a little tangential, was basically that the development rights would be limited by sewer capacity, where a hybrid sort of solution. Well, the land limits you too, with septic. So we live in a world where there are limitations to how much you can do, how big your shoe is and how big the foot is. And that happens sometimes. I don't see where that's something that everything in town hall has to solve for somebody.
Yeah.
If
No
those are
more-
existing conditions, deal with them.
If we focus on, forget the.
Yeah, I get it.
But, I guess more the question is, an application comes across our desks for
So
planning and zoning review.
That is a weird one, though, like,
Yeah,
we're gonna put a
you have-
brand
Should I
new
say,
septic
whoa?
system in when there's a sewer available, like, that's just.
Yeah, should I say,
stupid.
whoa, wait a second, why are you putting, this is a brand-new house and you're
You
putting a
should say
septic.
that. You should say that.
Yeah.
I could ask that question, but
Yeah.
should I be,
I mean, the excavator's there digging the foundation.
Yeah, but you got the engineering, you've got the.
yeah, no, this is usually in the review
But
process.
you also have that for the septic system.
I missed how this arose
That's what I
in the
mean.
first place.
So, an application before planning and zoning for a house proposed a new septic system on a lot where a sewer was available in the street. And it came across Darren's desk and he's like, I don't understand that. Why is that? Why are they doing
well,
that?
that's-
And they eventually decided to hook up to the sewer, so it's now a non-issue. The instigation is a non-issue, but it brought up the
I
subject
thought
for
the health
conversation.
department always required that.
And
I mean, how does that relate to?
I did too.
I know in a
It's not that
repair
way.
situation, if it fails, they
Well,
How
require a
does this
hookup.
relate
If
to?
it fails, that's for
Good
sure.
morning.
Oh,
It doesn't.
there's no backup. We're on number 5. There's no backup on 5.
There's no pages for this
Oh, I see.
issue.
So this item makes the agenda because he noticed it, I saw it. It
Really?
wasn't
Huh.
one, it wasn't one lot, it
Oh,
was
okay.
2 right next to each other. It was in an area that except, sewer was easily available. I mean, as close as you could possibly get. And wanted to get a feel what the commission thought.
I guess going on, yeah, go ahead.
I don't think it's really that complicated a question. That's why we're here.
Right.
It's to help the environment, and if, God willing, we get everything squared away with the system, it should be better than putting it into the ground, where septic systems fail over time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a long time.
And they add salt to the groundwater no
Everything.
matter what you do.
Yeah,
and-
the softener and,
And they're also not monitored the way that the
No.
Right.
effluent of a treatment plant is.
I have a
Well,
lot
so-
of concerns about some of the septic systems that the state is allowing. And our health department is not going to contradict the state. And you have these biofiltration, small systems going in, and then you have 7 bathrooms and 2 dishwashers and 2 laundries. And these systems cannot handle that huge rush of water. And so I would absolutely be in favor of in these.
Yeah, but that, you're talking about an NCR, right? So when you already have 4 bedrooms on a
Yeah.
lot, they'll let you knock the house down and build a new 4 bedrooms. 2022 four-bedroom house is a lot different than the 1972 four-bedroom house,
Yeah.
but they let you do it
In these
while
tiny little
finding the
spaces,
best
we saw this.
septic
I
systems
saw this
possible.
repeatedly.
Yeah.
And
I designed them.
upset me every single time.
Yeah.
So I'm very much in favor of if they have a sewer, and in that case, because the sewer
But
is
that gets to my
available.
point, the nuance there is that it's a non-compliant replacement system.
Yeah.
And so it would be easy for us to step in and say, you cannot put an NCR in,
Okay,
period, if there's sewer available, right? That's like one step, right?
Right.
Then the second step is you have a small lot in a coastal zone. You
That'd be
cannot,
another no-brainer.
you know, you cannot put a new septic system in there, you have to
When you
connect.
look at
Okay.
Darien
But-
and the soil type and the wetland corridors, and there's
Yep.
very few like no-brainers.
You're right.
That's why we're here, you know.
So you're lobbying for our policy, basically saying if there's sewer available, you
You
shouldn't
should
be
hook
putting
it
a
up.
new septic system in, you
Yeah,
should be hooking it up.
Absolutely.
Because I can't think of anywhere where it would be, maybe northern Darien where you have 4 acre lot, you know,
Yeah,
No
yeah,
lot.
ledge.
But I'm going through my head and it's like almost everything's a wetland corridor, and then
And then
underneath
basically,
there's
in the
bedrock.
2 acre zone, there's not much sewer available.
And then,
Anyway,
and
so
then
it's-
you add the
it's-
rock
it's moot.
escarpments
you add all that ledge.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But can we agree that the bottom line is the water that is treated and becomes effluent at the Stanford wastewater treatment plant is better than any possible water that comes from a septic system?
I don't think you need to make that standard.
Oh, yeah, I think
Likely.
you do, because I think
Likely.
that's what you're standing on.
people don't pump
99
their
out of 100
systems.
times that would be true, I
I
would say.
actually don't know the answer to the question.
That's
If
the
you had
other-
enough land, the septic
Well,
system.
I mean, why,
That
isn't
work.
it?
If you
isn't
had
it
enough land,
cheaper-
I don't know as you get
If a
the,
sewer system exists, isn't it cheaper to hook up to that rather than build a
The
septic
issue
system?
is nitrogen.
Yeah.
Because pathogens resolve if you've got good soils.
okay,
and
there's
anaerobic
no
condition.
nitrification in a septic system.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
So, but, you know, solution to pollution is dilution. If you have enough land area, there's enough rain falling on that land, you get enough dilution.
But
have to
there's,
pump 'em
but
out.
there's absolutely no nitrification. The process which turns nitrogen into nitrogen gas.
Yeah, I agree.
So that would pretty much say that the Stanford treatment
Oh, yeah,
plant,
on a nitrogen basis, I would,
is
but
better
where is the
than-
water going, right? And, you know, anyway, whatever.
I mean.
no, it's eventually making
And nitrogen
aquifer.
isn't a limiting condition for freshwater wetlands, it's a limiting condition for Long Island Sound.
Yes, phosphorus is the limiting condition for inland.
I mean, the chemical analysis is one thing, but doesn't the economic analysis overrule all of that?
Why is that our,
That's not our
I mean, you know,
why is
issue.
that our? But
That's
look,
not our
I,
issue.
you
It's
Well,
an
know,
right,
incentive.
but I mean, we're,
How about I make a suggestion?
please.
Let us do a little bit more homework on some other towns, what they may have in place,
Okay,
and we come back and feed you some more information on that,
Sounds lovely.
okay?
Item number 6, connection fees at 88 and 92 Pear Tree Point Road and 74 and 78 Long Neck Point Road.
for these, the
Okay,
four
this,
houses.
this particular lot is the former site of the Pear Tree Point School.
Okay,
Just knows that. School was torn down, it was subdivided into 4 separate lots. We provided that property when we built the project in 2004 or whatever with 3 laterals because we knew it's just a big lot. I checked with Kathy Larkins, the tax collector, and she says that we only assess them once. Now, we do have a little bit of a precedent. The Zangrillo property, Journey's End, I don't know the exact number, but
two something.
yes, 2 something. That property was already subdivided, even though there was an existing house straddling the property. The fact that there was the possibility of 2 lots, we went ahead and put an extra lateral in we put 2 laterals there. Being that it was only 1 house, we could only assess them once. Well, the estate was passed on, the subdivision was reinstated, it was re-subdivided, there were 2 lots. Thankfully, the lateral was already there for them, and we charged them 1 assessment for that new house.
One additional.
One additional assessment, right? So now there's that one property paid an assessment, and one of the subdivided lots got to use that lateral. There was already a lateral there, so we assessed that property. So that perfectly fair, I think, and we may have even come before you. I think we did, and that's the way you guys came down. So in this particular case,
We've charged one assessment, and now they're looking for 4 lots, so why wouldn't we ask for 3 more?
My question is, when you decided or calculated the assessment, you calculated it as 2 at Journey's End and 4 at
no.
3?
No, we put 3 laterals on the property, but it was only one property. It wasn't subdivided. There was no subdivision.
Calculated it as
We
one.
just put, at
So
the
we're
time that we
increasing
built the
We're
project.
increasing the denominator.
We only counted them as one. They were only assessed once. So,
Wait a minute, I'm confused here.
okay,
So
Yeah,
you
but the one
assessed,
that's comparing.
you assessed at 1, but for some reason you put in 3 laterals.
right. That's correct.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry.
It was
It
one
does?
property. Yeah, yeah, they imagined it could be subdivided in the future, so they put the physical pipes in the ground.
Yes.
But there was only one property owner there with one connection to charge the assessment to.
Okay, then who's gonna
Correct.
pay for the other 2 laterals?
Well, see now,
That's why we're here
that's,
now.
that's why it's
Because
on
now
the
they're going
agenda.
to be used.
Trying to get there, so.
Okay.
I mean, you're gonna have to put in another one, another
It's
lateral?
not the lateral that costs the assessment, it's the
Okay.
whole construction project. The lateral's nothing, and it's smart to put it in, so you have to dig up the road.
All right, but now you're gonna put in a 4th lateral?
Yeah, I guess, I
So,
don't know.
so here's what I think. What I think is fair, or what we've, kind of consistent with what we've done in the past. If we provide somebody with a lateral and they're part of a new project, they should be assessed, right? So in this particular case, they paid for one assessment, they get to use one lateral.
Right.
Now, this is an interesting case because the way they subdivided it, now they're proposing on Long Neck Point to connect into the Long Neck Point sewer where there are no laterals. Doesn't that make us use the recently instituted connection fee? You wanna connect, you gotta go out into the road, it's a live sewer, you gotta do some special monkeying around. You're gonna have to tap into a live main. You're going to have to get into that sewer to use it. You're gonna have to repair the road, and no one gave you a valve right to your property line like we did for everybody else. So for those 2 people, it seems reasonable that they would be charged a connection fee, which is a great deal for them. You may decide against it. I guess it would be $3,000 or around there instead of the $13,000.
So they wouldn't be charged a pro rata share, just the connection fee?
Yeah, well, I guess that's the question. A connection fee, because they have to go out into the road and do all this extra work. That's what we would do to anybody else. This just happens to be a more recent project. On the other end, on Pear Tree Point, there's 3 laterals that come in off of Pear Tree Point,
And they're looking for 2 lots fronting there.
and there's only 2. If they use 2 of those laterals for 2 of those lots, then I would say they should pay an extra assessment there.
Because
Because they're saving the money of cutting.
They've already
open the
paid
road.
one, right.
And they're
so-
saving the money of cutting open the road and doing all that.
And they wouldn't have to dig up the road, but the way the laterals are, they seem to be in front of one property only, so are they gonna go out into the road and tap, or are they gonna get an easement from an adjacent lot that they may own and have the capability of doing just that? I don't know, so, that, if there was no commission and I was in a vacuum, I would say, you got a lateral, you gotta pay an extra assessment. If you're gonna tap into a sewer, then you have to pay a connection fee. If I could jump off topic for 1 second, it's gonna take more than a second, but, this is relative to other things as well. I'd like to just take you off topic on an easier one, okay? Leroy Avenue. There's it's sort of similar. You have a house, a large piece of property. The house was demolished and the property was subdivided.
Okay.
That house was connected to the sewer. Now, it's not. They went in, they disconnected, they subdivided. You're gonna have an additional connection there. And I have already told Planning and Zoning and Building to hold up the COs until this is resolved. I believe we are due one connection fee. That is a perfect example of why we instituted the connection fees. So the properties may have already been sold. I don't care. They're gonna have to work it out. I don't care if they each pay $1,500 or whatever the price is. One of those properties owes us a connection fee because there was one connection, now there's two. Can I get a nod and a wink on that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so.
You want a resolution, you want to vote?
That was an easy one, right? So now we can go back to Pear Tree and say, we agree that one of those lots deserves to go free, right? They paid an
There was a connection
assessment.
before,
They are,
there's
they are
one
due
connection now.
sewer service for one connection,
Yes.
right?
Are they connected?
No, not yet.
Well, they were when it was the school.
But there was no.
When it was a school, that's true.
There was no assessment on Leroy, so it's a different world, right?
And that's why we did the connection fees,
Yeah.
right? That's why we came up with this connection fee, because
But
we all.
there were assessments on both Long Neck and Pear Tree Point.
Yeah, that's why I think the Leroy one is easier, because it just deals with connection fees,
Yeah.
right?
It's already
Forget the
funded.
forget
Fully
the
funded.
assessment, that's an old, the reason you came up with an assessment fee, I mean, a connection fee, is because there were old projects, and if a property was subdivided, or somebody figured a way to connect, it wasn't fair that they were connecting for free, so the commission came up with our assistance connection fees.
Well,
Okay, so, but let's look at Pear Tree, Long Neck reasonably. Long Neck is also where Ziegler, the 54 acres that's on sale now, is gonna go to.
Yep.
That was already hooked up.
That's correct.
That was already hooked up. Okay.
Sewers, man. Sewers are in the
Well,
road.
the sewer was brought into the Ziegler subdivision.
Okay.
Because Coon Point and Great Island Road are both subdivided subdivisions.
Yeah, back when
They're
I
private
was-
roads, but they are actual
And the sewers are
subdivided.
there.
Okay.
And
Alright, I
then,
didn't
and
know
then
that.
Great Island Road itself has a sewer. We didn't go on to Great Island Road.
I mean, doesn't every property that has not been hooked up to a sewer pay a connection fee?
Now they do, because you came up with connection fees.
There was no
Well,
such
so
thing
if
as
there
that.
are, if there are 4 lots there, and one of them was connected before, you know, we come back and we go through that process, okay, they get a break on that. But the other 3 have to pay a connection fee, don't they?
That's what I
Even
think.
though there may be laterals in there.
At the
Hooray,
min,
so
at
what?
the, but at the minimum, they're paying a connection
Yeah.
fee. Is one of them also paying an assessment fee because when they calculated the assessment on
Number of
Pear Tree Point, they did it with the number of
users.
entities or users,
let me-
and that's the way they came up with the number.
Let me, our devil's advocate, we had a project, it was cost to the project. We assessed according to the cost of the project, project's paid for.
Yep.
Why would we be charging anything different than the connection fee?
But your whole thing of the project's paid for, it was paid for in $1990.
But you
It's
could-
not,
No,
it-
so
they-
you're saying
they're
that-
already getting a
that's
deal
what
on that
Anybody's
one.
sewer that was built in 1950, why don't we charge them for the cost of sewer construction, you know,
Well, but you're,
prorated to now for 1950? I mean,
but we're not prorating it.
I know.
So they're already getting a deal because there are towns where if the sewer's in
But-
front of
but
you,
isn't-
you have to pay the assessment then and there.
No, they do that.
Yeah.
You can't really.
So
opt
they're
out.
already getting they've already gotten a deal in that respect.
Yeah.
I guess.
So that's, you can't say that, you know.
But I think
Well, I
by
can say
state
it.
Well, you
statute.
can say it,
And
but I don't.
And I think on a government basis, we're not here to make a profit, we're here to pay
But
for.
we're not
pay
making
for
a
what
profit because
provide.
we put out the money how many years ago and it's
We
not
didn't-
worth what it
We
is.
didn't put the money out, though, the people paid for it.
No, we put the money out and we're getting reimbursed.
We're the.
Unless this is
Go ahead, Darren.
unless
Darren's
it's a
got his hand up.
contractor.
Well,
Derek.
I guess what I'm asking is, what seemed fair to me, and I'm asking if you folks think that it's fair. If we provided somebody with a lateral to their property line, as we did everybody else who was assessed, shouldn't they be assessed? And I think we all agree the one should be assessed, it doesn't need to be assessed, because they already paid an assessment.
Yeah.
And that property has a lateral to their property line, they're out of it, that leaves 3. So there's the second one on Pear Tree Point, if they can get to the lateral without digging out into the road, ought they not be assessed, just as everybody else was, just as the Zangrillos were, okay, and the other 2 at issue are Long Neck Point,
Weren't provided with laterals,
they weren't provided laterals, so
they got some extra
that's what the
costs
connection
associated.
fee was designed to do, to capture that, to say, just because you showed up late to the game, you don't get everything for free. You have to pay something to connect to our
So
system.
Darren is suggesting that we might consider a motion that allowed him to charge connection fees for the 2 lots on Long Neck Point Road and 1 additional assessment for the additional lot on Pear Tree Point Road
If the lateral that we installed already
is used.
is used.
But if they go
Yes.
straight to the main of the street,
What's that?
I like.
If they don't use any of the laterals, this 1 extra lot on Pear Tree.
Yeah.
And connect in, do you change that to a connection fee?
If
they don't use
one of
the
the
lateral.
houses on Long Neck ran a
No.
pipe,
No.
No.
If the house on Pear Tree doesn't use the lateral.
yeah, then I would change it to a connection fee, yes. That's what I would do.
So you're trying to basically create guide rails to how to apply this in the future. and
Yes,
This
thank
makes sense to you.
Good way to put it, yes, exactly what I'm trying to do.
When a lateral's been provided and you use it, you pay the assessment. When a lateral
Yes.
has not been provided, you pay a connection fee.
Yeah,
And we have good information from the tax collector that they only paid 1 assessment.
Yeah.
So you're looking for 3 more assessments as well?
no.
No.
No, okay.
3 connection
Just
fees
connection
or
fees.
2 connection fees and an additional assessment if that
Depending on
extra
the-
lateral, if one of the laterals is used.
Okay.
If they don't have to dig in the road,
They're probably saving.
they have the
near that.
benefit everybody else has.
Yeah.
I know that's a lot of moving parts.
Does anybody want to make
sound-
that motion?
No, it's not a lot of moving parts. I'm just trying to think what's the most fair and equitable way to do this. Because you're talking $13,000 as opposed to 3.
What was 0?
Yes,
2 years
and
ago.
I don't,
That's irrelevant, because I think that was
Yeah.
just
Well, to
silly.
me, this
I
project
mean,
is paid
and
for
I-
just like when the sewers were built in 1938, those projects were paid for. You know, like, it's paid for, it's done. We're in the land of connection fees now, you know, I don't know.
And the other case you'll look at is Mansfield Avenue. Remember, I was recused there. I sold that property.
Yep,
Yeah, it was a fully funded sewer system.
but that was also a contractor sewer, different
A developer.
No,
situation.
exactly,
Developer
that's true,
sewer,
that's
sorry.
true, it's developers, so it's different animal,
and that,
different animal.
that was the case that prompted us to consider connection
Yeah.
fees, because
Right.
it
You
just
got it.
didn't seem fair that.
You got it for free.
So many people, if you could just hold out a little bit, you know,
But-
you didn't have to pay anything.
There's no opt-out for assessments now, if it's in your area, like, all of Long Neck had to pay an assessment.
That's
when it
correct.
went in. We had somebody come in, I think we were on P&Z, who had just put a new septic system in when we were proposing
Yeah,
the sewer.
and they had to pay
He's
an
like, I spent $100,000 on this, and now you're requiring me to pay a fee to have a
That's
sewer.
correct.
And that's, unfortunate, but by.
That's the law, the Connecticut
Right.
General Statute says exactly that. If you are directly benefited,
You have to pay.
you are a part of the
Yes,
project.
but it could also be argued that anyone living on waterfront property is directly benefited by a sewer in Darien.
Well, yeah, but there's always.
I'm just
right?
saying, I
There's always gonna be a
just
gray
know
area.
that that's an argument,
I-
that
that's a
the
good
fact
argument.
that
But you're,
Long
but
Island
that
Sound does
argument-
not get
That
polluted.
argument is we should have a $10,000 connection fee for everybody that's connecting to the sewer.
Hey, and I would if the board would agree to it,
Because
I
they're buying
would.
into a valuable system, you know, but that's not where we're
It's
at.
it's the largest,
So,
the largest asset the town of Darien owns.
That, with the property, that, is the Ziegler property, that they put the sewers into, no houses on it yet, right? You know that,
That's correct.
There's no houses tied into it yet.
pardon me?
They're not built yet.
No, but
No, they're not.
Vacant lots,
I mean,
right?
Well, there's the.
it's
sheep
empty except
barn
the
and-
sewers are there.
Yeah, reserve bathroom.
Now, when they start building houses, do they pay an assessment fee?
Pay a connection fee.
Pay
Connection.
Or
connection.
Connection.
fee?
Well,
Connection fee?
That's,
Those
that's the
lots were
conversation.
individually owned, correct? They was not all one, it's a subdivision, but I think they were, so they paid, each lot paid a fee.
Yeah, well, the connection fee says, you guys decided a residential
No, not the
unit.
connection,
Well, tell
but
me.
they each paid a portion of the total sewer at the time.
They were
yeah,
part of the
on their
expansion.
They
property,
were
but
part-
there was no connection fee when they
No,
put
I'm not
it
talking about
in.
the connection. They paid the $13,000
If they,
each.
if they did, we'll find it.
Oh,
We'll
each?
go, we'll
Yeah,
do our homework
each
and
lot.
check
Oh, they
again
did?
like we
It's
do.
a
Each
subdivision, it
lot-
had
Okay.
laterals.
Each lot there.
Already
through
paid.
some agency
Yeah.
Sure.
paid
Yeah.
their share of the fee.
They were a denominator
And
in
there
the
is
whole
no
thing.
Yeah.
connection fee, right?
There'd be-
They wouldn't have any, no.
Because they
You
each
paid the
They
have.
already have a
assessment, no
lateral.
connection
If
fee.
you have your lateral, you can use it.
Yeah.
But you have to pay a connection fee.
But you have to pay a
if you-
connection.
On top of your assessment?
No.
The assessment's over, it's done, it's in the past, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, no, you.
I don't know, I'm,
Or
Yeah,
no.
it's in the past, and
No, the
there's now
difference.
a connection for a
What,
lateral.
Darren?
The difference, if you recall, when we discussed the connection fees, and I think it's written in there specifically, you specifically came up with a scenario where there was a lot of discussion about, yeah, I'm not blaming you or anything, I'm just saying.
Videotape.
I'm trying to prompt your memory, that's all I'm trying to. There was a lot of discussion about water main size,
Yes,
use.
yes.
Increase.
Is it a factory, is it
Yes.
is it a warehouse that doesn't use any water, even though it's 10,000 square feet,
Yep.
they have one slop sink, or
So
it's
commercial is
you
on
know,
water service.
a
That's
barber
mixed
shop,
use
a
is on water
restaurant,
service.
and it's
Yeah.
only this big.
Yep.
And your opinion at the time was, they should pay the difference. So,
Yeah.
for example, heights, they had a pipe size, they had a square footage, they had different, now we're imposing residential.
upgrade.
And the thought was, they should pay the difference.
Yeah.
Well, how does that affect a single-family residential lot?
Well, it shouldn't. What I'm saying is, if there's a 4-bedroom house there and they tear it down and they put a 4-bedroom
No,
house back,
We're talking about a vacant
There's-
lot
Yeah.
that happened to pay an assessment for a sewer extension 20 years ago, 30 years ago,
okay?
35, whatever,
88, right?
that now wants to come in and get a building permit and hook up to that sewer. Why wouldn't they pay the connection fee?
It was never my understanding that was the intent. I'll go a step further. Developer sewer.
Okay.
A developer, you pay the developer, you pay us, we pay the developer, or you pay an assessment and we keep the money. But the connection fee was to catch the people who fell through the cracks, as Reese mentioned, on Mansfield Avenue.
Yeah.
So, in my Leroy example, they disconnected. So all I would think is reasonable is that one of those properties has to pay a connection fee, not two, because one of them was already connected.
Sure, no, that's much more clear to me, right? That's much more clear to me. There was one house there, now there's 2 houses there, they gotta pay a connection fee.
Just one.
But if
All
they're,
right.
But you're saying they demoed a house and then reconnected a new house, why wouldn't they pay?
But if
But
they're-
See,
I'm talking about a vacant lot that's always been a vacant lot, and there's never been a house there, and there's never been a house connected.
Well, you paid the assessment for the
You did
sewer
pay the
that's up
assessment
front.
for the
And you
sewer.
have to
And part of the
lateral.
sewer system,
Yes.
But
I
if-
believe, is the lateral to the property.
But if the
Laterals there.
assessment is,
So if they, just like at the pear tree lot that's been using the sewer, These folks haven't been using it, but it's there, they
They've
pay the
had-
assessment, they get
they've had
the
access
internet
to
connection
it.
for
I
nothing.
think the lateral.
But they've
the
had
lateral-
access
lateral
to
was
it, and
key.
there's been
Yeah,
upkeep
and
on
that
it.
seems to be where he
Yeah,
wants to draw.
So
the line.
that's where
so
I
right.
have the,
Yeah, okay.
the
The new
connection
lateral
fee on
new
top
connection.
of the
Yep.
assessment.
Okay.
No. I mean, if, going back to that property where they paid all of the assessment individually or however, it's all been paid. It's there, they have put in the foundation, they run the pipe out. Why the hell would they pay anything?
They haven't run the pipe out. The pipe's
I mean,
just
the-
stubbed to the edge of the road.
Well, right, but they paid for that.
Yeah.
One of the lots, oh, okay, you're
Oh,
saying.
no,
it's
wait,
vacant.
where are we here?
He's
Are we
on
on
Ziegler's.
Ziegler or
He's
Pear
on
Tree?
Ziegler's.
So
Doesn't
let's-
matter.
Somewhere.
We don't
well,
need
I'm
to-
not here.
Okay, I have another question.
I-
Does this need to be resolved tonight? Because this is, I think, something we need to think about.
If you wanna
No.
think about it, we can think about it,
Doesn't,
but.
doesn't sound a lot of thinking. I think Darren,
mean,
Darren's
Darren
come
has-
up with a fair answer to it.
That-
But
Ah,
D-
but
Darren
it's not,
handles
it's,
these
it's pure luck of the draw as to where you
Wait,
were.
Wait, they're not so.
There's four lots.
Let's see
One
what
could
Peter-
pay
let's hear what
nothing,
Peter has to say.
one could pay 13,000 and two could pay 3,000.
Yeah.
First
It's
you
pure
gotta
luck of the
get-
draw. I don't know
Or
as
they can put
it's-
it all together and split it.
That'd be, that's one way of thinking it.
Peter, what are you saying?
they'll figure it out.
You have to have a base somewhere, you know, base thought. And the base thought is, here's a group of sewage lines put in with stubs going out for each of the properties. All of those properties somehow, whether they pay for them individually or a group, God knows. But they're all paid, the sewer's in there, there's no more assessment on them. Now, if you build a house, you've already paid the assessment. You run your pipe over, you fit it in. There is, I can't conceive of any reason why you would be charged an assessment.
Okay,
Is that?
there's one
is that-
assessment
that's
for
the
houses.
base. Now, that's the base. Can we agree on that? Do we agree on that?
No, we
We
don't.
No.
We don't agree.
No.
I do.
Because
now we have an
I
issue.
kinda agree
Because,
with it too.
because in the
We
interim.
paid for the system.
Yeah.
Upgrade space. It's no, the fact that it was built in 93 is no
Doesn't
different
matter.
than
They
something
paid
that was
for it.
built in 83 or 73 or 63 or 53.
Yeah.
Sewer is there now. Project's over, assessments are done.
Yeah.
If there
So
were
what-
only
But the
three
You're
connection-
connecting
laterals.
now,
Do
you
you
pay the
agree?
connection fee.
Oh, you get a connection, I see.
The connection
So-
fee also covers
All
the
right.
maintenance that's been done
All right.
since the assessment, among other things.
All right, so let's define
The
what.
connection fee is a connection fee. It
What
doesn't have
is the
any,
connect, what,
there is no
But aren't you missing a
significant nexus
lateral?
between the connection fee and the benefit you're getting for it.
Okay.
It's just a fee.
I can live with that.
all right, so
Set.
I can live with that, but you know, what I'm trying to
missing a
get
lateral.
then, we need a
There's only
definition
three,
of.
and we need
They can
four.
hide.
No,
What
it's more
is
than
a
that because
connection
they
fee?
have.
More than that. It's not in the right place.
It was an attempt at.
What is a
It was an
connection?
attempt at equity.
What?
It was an attempt at equity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
That's
not.
all. That's all it was.
All right.
That's
Something
too
like that.
You live in house
Four lots
A.
now.
They put a sewer in front of your
And
house.
this one had the house.
Right now, you have a septic
All
system.
three laterals.
Your house value
Yeah,
goes
they're out in
up.
front of one, but he didn't know how. it
Can
was.
we all agree with that
He
one?
Put him in, he only throws extra air and puts this.
Because you do not need to use the duplicate property for a backup septic system. You
29
can now,
years ago,
it's
they
now
put those 3
buildable
extra
property.
laterals in.
So your buildable envelope
all
has
built.
grown.
He didn't want to.
So your property should increase in value.
The Connecticut Town statutes recognizes exactly what you said. You don't have to use the sewer for it to increase the value of your house. Your property value goes up by the very ability of that property to be connected to the sewer.
What expense?
So that is your assessment. And that's your assessment. Your connection is the physical connection. You're getting charged to actually join the club. And so I would agree that they're two separate entities that piggyback on each other.
But when you connect.
I could be convinced
Sewers are already.
that there are no new assessments because the project's been paid for. But everybody pays a connection fee except the one that's being reused.
All right, except, I mean, if that's so.
Oh,
then
that's
we-
the
then
bare
we-
minimum.
Yeah.
We're talking
I could be
pear
convinced.
tree.
That's, yeah.
I mean, we
could be
do,
convinced that's
we
totally
have,
acceptable.
when someone connects, we have expenses, right?
That's the 3,000.
Permit fees.
The
those are
permit fee
Redwood's
covers
ever
Yeah,
permit
but
fees.
you have some other things.
Can't be more than the permit.
I mean, you gotta get them on the roster, you gotta, whatever it costs. I mean, it's not, when they connect,
All right, look,
Something happens.
Yeah.
we've been jawboning for 45
All
minutes
right,
on this. This
okay.
is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give everybody 30 seconds to
I've-
tell me what they think.
I've had my 30
Bob,
seconds.
30 seconds or less, what do
What
you
I
think the
think is
solution
we need to think about it.
Pete, what do you think the solution is in this particular case?
I'm confused. I think that if there's a connection fee, it is just a imposed fee that we have decided to do, period.
Susan, do you have any thoughts?
No, I'm also confused, but
Okay,
I think that just comes from my being relatively new.
okay. Reese, do you have any?
I think Darren's recommendation is good. There's connection fees for 3 additional lots, 3 additional connections. The likelihood of them using the 3 that are ganged together and coming up with these and spending money on lawyers is absurd. So it's tapping into a pressure line on each side.
I
Is
agree with that.
The
Is
minimum
it a
amount-
pressure line
If that was the
on
question,
Long Neck
I
Point?
agree with that.
It's all pressure.
Oh, so they gotta do a hot tap?
Yep.
But wait, I thought, Darren, you were suggesting
I didn't
one
realize it was
assessment.
pressure.
No?
No.
If they used one of the other existing laterals on Pier 2.
Yeah.
I see, okay.
So
Now
if-
I understand, okay.
If there's
Now
three,
So
I
in
understand.
Darren's mind, the presence of a lateral to the property
good enough.
is a differentiator in terms of how you treat that property.
Thank you.
And that's, you want
That's what I was
guidance?
trying to
You want guidance going forward?
So wait a
on
minute,
that?
when was Long Neck Point's low pressure system put in?
2005,
2004.
6.
Yeah,
5.
it was when I was on EPC.
I was on
But-
P&Z, just for.
Because I remember the application
See,
had
we
this
remember
tiny
it
little
all.
piece of
If there's a
wetland.
lateral going to the property,
So we had to see it.
that's a different deal, right?
Yeah, that's
Towel.
no connection
Yeah.
fee. You already have it.
Yeah, all right.
It's on your property line.
All
You're
right.
gonna hook into it.
Well,
So when
that's
that was-
what, that's the situation over there in that, where everybody's paid for it in that,
Yeah.
that
Yep.
property.
Yep.
So there's no connection fee,
Right.
or is there?
No assessment.
That's what I
No.
thought.
They already paid the assessment.
Right, that's what I'm
They
saying. There's
paid
no
you.
assessment.
I-
There's a connection.
Hey,
I wanna go back
We're
and read
debating
the-
that.
Yeah, I wanna go back and read the.
I think
Right.
if you paid for it,
Read
it
the
comes to
fine
your
print.
property
The connection
line.
fee regs?
What did we say?
Okay.
So does that resolve this one, Darren?
No, we're not resolved.
Oh,
No.
no.
Sounded like you guys,
I agree with, now that you've explained it, I think you're right. 3 connection fees.
That's kind
I
of.
think
Well,
that's
mean,
I think that's
all
the
well
bare
and good.
minimum.
I agree with that.
I
but
make a motion that in the case of the Pear Tree subdivision where it's complicated, that we think 3 connection fees is good for all 4 lots.
I'll
So if they
second
do
that.
3 hot taps, 3
Yep.
connection
Yep.
fees.
I
but-
second that.
But have they sold that property that has that, or was that $84 million property? that
Different animal.
Was not
And this is
purchased,
the old
right?
school.
This is the old Pear Tree Point.
This-
No, I'm not talking about the Pear Tree.
This is what we're talking about.
Nothing else has been sold.
They sold Great Island, there's 54 more
Yeah.
acres that are
Yeah.
for sale.
Yeah.
That's where the road was put in.
And that,
Separate. So there's a motion, there's a second, allow
All
this
right,
to go 4
Who's
lots.
second?
third.
I
Yeah.
did.
Gavel?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's fine, you're doing great work. I was supposed to get out of here 15 minutes ago.
But eventually this other thing is
okay.
gonna come up.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, by a show of hands, all those in favor of the motion to charge connection fees for new connections to the sewer? Or
At
all
that location.
Against?
Yep.
One. All right. Moving on. I think we should continue.
And if they happen to use one of the taps, one of the
We'll be back to see you.
I'll come back to you.
They're
Yeah.
gonna need a
We'll
new.
give you time to
It's
digest it.
$3,000 and it's some glue.
Yeah, but
Cheaper
it's-
than
it's
lawyers.
We're
pressure.
done. We're moving on.
It's
We're
low
done.
pressure.
You can talk about it after.
It's
We're
low
done.
pressure,
We're done.
for them to
Done.
connect
Moving
one
on.
is easy.
This is my gavel. Moving on.
Right.
I think we should continue our rain gauge subscriptions. Any other questions?
That's it. Wanted to
Okay.
make sure you guys are aware of it. Costs $80 a month.
Oh,
I think
big spenders.
they asked us if they wanted to remove them. I think it's important we keep them.
I
Oh,
love
no, they're great.
To move
knowing
the
the
process
data.
along
I
and-
love the data.
Can we,
That's all I have to comment on.
can we table number 8?
Number 8.
Yes, we can.
All of Penny's hard work.
Yeah, she did a
Well, I
lot of
wanna
work
give
on
it, I
that.
wanna give it the time and thought that
Oh,
it
okay.
deserves, and I don't feel
It's
like I have the
excellent
patience
work.
to do that tonight.
Did you guys get a good look at it? Because I think she did a great job.
I did.
I looked
Okay.
at it and I thought, wow.
When you look at it, there's basically 19 cases that we had to straighten out, and if you divide that into the difference, comes down to, we average out $27.62 away from a net zero. So, I think we do
This
pretty
is
well.
great data. No, I'm very appreciative. Penny, I'm very appreciative.
Yeah,
This
thank
is
you, Penny.
fabulous.
So we're gonna hold that over?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I would like to. look at
We'll go
that.
through the superintendent's report, if that's okay, Craig?
Okay.
Please do.
Okay. Old Kings Highway South Sanitary Rehab, we did award the contract to National Water Main. Pre-con meeting is Thursday, at which time we'll get a schedule out of that when we get started, so we're off and running.
Fantastic news.
All right? Darren, you got B, Cedric?
You're done?
Yep.
7 Sedgwick, we hadn't heard from them. I did hear from the applicant's engineer this week. So it's not dead. They've come back and started asking questions again. We're providing them with anonymized water usage. We provided them with we reported earlier that we provided them with all the meter readings and capacity analyses that we had in our possession from that area before. So,
Okay.
so it's still active.
Okay.
C, Old Kings Highway South Building Access, we did send out a firm letter signed by the Sewer Commission Chairman, July
Excellent.
26th. We gave them 30 days to respond. I have it marked on my calendar. They'll get a phone call if I don't hear back from them, and then we'll move on from there.
Yeah, I haven't
There
heard
may
yet.
be another item next month on the agenda on how we'd like to handle those folks if they don't let us in. Our ordinance does say we are allowed to go in and check if we feel the need.
So, crazy question, but could you ever individually flow monitor a lateral if you wanted to?
Yeah, sure.
How would you get to it if it's mid-line?
I think the manhole out in the street is, the lateral's connected
All
right
right,
to it for
great.
this building.
Can charge that back.
It is.
Mm,
We could charge them back if we had to.
We could do it on the flow, right?
Sure.
Yeah, let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yep. Hopefully we don't have to do that.
Okay.
Darren D.
Oh,
That's where we're headed.
Stony Brook Pump Station, to refresh the commission's memory, there was an additional parcel right behind the pump station property. Bunch of issues, the fence is nowhere near the property line, et cetera. But,
Oh, yeah, okay.
that one, but in addition to that, right behind the property, there was a little rectangular piece. We don't have an answer for you yet. We have been working with council. Their title searcher is flat out busy. We did find the documents that talks about a certificate of taking. We're still not sure whether we own it or we own it, have an easement for the purposes of having a sewer there. We'll get back to you as soon as our attorney is able to put a title search on it and come up with some answers.
There was a manhole in that property, correct?
Yes. Yep, and then it
That's not
turns.
gonna stop us from moving forward with our plans. We'll get that defined, but we're gonna use the map now to start.
That's just good practice to know exactly where your property boundary is.
It would be,
In the face
yes.
of gray
Yes.
areas, yes.
Yep.
And we also asked, should we move the fence? Would that affect flooding? There's other issues by moving the fence, because the property line is like cutting up the river. We're obviously not gonna put a fence in the middle of the river. But when you get to the lawn area, we don't know those answers yet either.
Question, since we're on that pump station. Did we address the fact that the plastic shed is on our property? On the town
Yes.
property?
The shed from the neighbor to the west?
I'm not sure the direction, but
Yeah.
yes, there was a shed that was on the,
Yeah, there was a shed, it was a minor encroachment, and we did write them a letter. I do not know if it was moved, but it was probably 2 feet on our property, one of those little plastic sheds. In other words, I think I could probably kick it and move it off our property.
You don't wanna do that, cause you
I know.
damage it, you own it, so.
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm just, I appreciate the thought, I'm just saying, if it's that easy, they should be more than willing to do it.
Okay,
I'm
we'll
sure
check
it was
if
an honest
we'll
mistake.
check if it got moved. But we did send a certified letter asking them to move it.
You got E.
Oh, that's mine too.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
got the rest of
Renshaw, along the river, to that little triangular piece, into the back door of the Stony Brook pump station. The abandoned line, we plugged it, we reported we took the plug out. Ed and the commission agreed, Ed suggested and the commission agreed that we TV it, make sure that there's no further connections. We haven't gotten there yet. We are going to, with this new project coming up, hopefully get a good price from our contractor that we're engaging on Old Kings Highway South, who is in the business of doing big sewer main inspections. We're hopeful that will be the time when we can do the TV work and verify that there's no other connections. Because it's filled with water, so not just anybody can do it. You'd have to float a camera or something, or have a bigger camera that can go above the water. So,
Just for giggles, when you're asking them, could you ask them if there's any way, if, in their opinion, if there's any way to inspect a force main? I know the engineers had their response to this, but I would like to have the boots on the ground answer.
we might be able to get you a better answer from them,
Yeah.
because they're actually gonna do that for us.
That's what I meant by boots on the ground.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, the part of the Old Kings Highway South project that Ed reported that we just awarded,
Yes,
is inspecting the first part of the discharge of the 10-inch force main from 5 Mile River Pump Station.
Oh.
So we're gonna actually
okay,
shut down we think the way it's gonna work is we're gonna shut down the station and bypass pump, and while that's in progress, get into that force main to look at a part of it. I think your question is a little bit bigger than that.
I'm
Like,
sure it is, but
can we do 4,000 feet of it, and how?
Well, I'm not even, like I said, the suggestion I had wasn't 4,000 feet, it was just, I mean,
As much as you can.
it was just middle of the night, open the check valve, let it go back, even if it goes back 300 feet, just do the last 300 feet, just to give you some kind of an idea.
Yeah, one of the things that we're
I mean,
constantly.
I don't know if I'm pie in the sky or what, but.
No, I thought you were talking about a bigger picture. One of the things that we're being asked by, constantly by the regulatory agencies is, have you inspected your force main? Like, I'm sure you're familiar with Greenwich. They took a big hit because they didn't inspect their force mains. Well, how do you inspect a force main? Do you have to dig it up? Do you drill a coupon? Do you do destructive testing? Then you have to patch the pipe. Did you make it worse than it was before you got there? Do you drain the pipe? Do you go inside? If you go inside and it's cement lined, it looks perfect. What about the outside? Do you do some sort of a radiograph to test the thickness, wall thickness of the pipe? That I don't know the answer to, but that's what I.
But
That's
you
where I
clearly
we were
thought
going.
about it.
Could that be lined?
A
If you
force
could
main?
bypass it
I'll
somehow?
bet they can line a force main, sure.
You would have to bypass.
Yeah, bypass.
You'd
it.
have to bypass, and it would
Yeah.
also decrease capacity because you're gonna
Sure,
decrease,
but it might
you're gonna
move.
decrease the cross-sectional diameter.
Yeah, but it might move faster. It might be slipperier.
Lower
Uh,
coefficient
true.
of roughness.
Right.
Okay, there also might be,
That's what
I
you're
use
looking
that
for.
term.
there also might be significant tuberculation that the
Maybe.
lining may, by the time you
I'm
clean
gonna
it.
have some
Maybe it's
significant
slightly-
tuberculation by the end of this meeting.
Maybe it's slightly corrugated.
We
creates
could
it.
start.
These are some big words.
That's why I use slippery.
Nothing new to report on Corbin Drive. Still going on, they're doing laterals.
Any new business?
I still have ongoing, well,
Oh, do you
One
have
is
a-
ongoing.
a question under superintendent's report?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Has there been any movement on the country club in Hoyt Street?
No,
Okay.
no movement, so.
And my other question would be, Parklands, the back one where the developer is threatened to make it bigger. They do have to come back to us if they decide to make it bigger, correct?
Yes. Because,
Sure.
because they told us they were.
I'm just
Yeah,
throwing
the-
it out there.
An engineer came and presented to the commission a capacity analysis based on X. If they do Y, I would expect another capacity analysis if it's substantial or even a little bit more than,
I would agree with you 100%, but I wanna put it out there, that's all.
okay.
Without someone having to recuse themselves and leave the room, and it's not necessary.
Can I go back to Corbin Drive for 1 second?
Yes?
There was, I noticed there's no attachment here. I think I forgot to put that in.
There's an
Um,
attachment.
There was a question about the pitch on the pipe.
Yes.
And we did have the engineer, I don't think I reported that to you. The-
I remember it being reported to us that.
I did report it to you?
It's what it can be, because you have point A, point B,
No,
and a
that
distance.
it was different than
But there's a
that.
letter
It was
or
a,
an
it
email.
was a rounding error. It were.
That's correct.
A rounding
Okay,
adjustment.
I already told you,
Yeah.
forget it.
The rounding adjustment.
That's it, I'm done.
The fence on Brookside Drive, is it?
Oh, gosh.
It's been brought up. It's been mentioned to me, and I said I would bring it up.
Every month.
Yeah.
All right, now, question, if we're deliberating moving the fence at Stony Brook, why are we not deliberating moving the fence to the property line at Brookside? Just putting it out there, that's all. What's the difference between Brookside and Stony Brook?
The difference that I see, and I don't know this, but the Brookside Station is clearly a very small percentage of the property, where if you look at Stony Brook, do you think that it sort of approximates the actual property line? And that may not be a valid reason for not, you know.
One is more confusing than the other.
Yeah, and when we talked about Brookside originally, some of the ideas that the commission had were, let's put some monuments to at least
Right, I
mark the
thought we did
corners
that.
and be done with it.
Survey
Or
and plan.
maybe we'll plant some bushes in that area so that lawn doesn't look like it's really their property. But
It's not much
we,
lawn.
at the end of the day, the fencing was to
Replace-
protect our pump station from view, which people find
And
objectionable.
replace in kind what was there, right? Pretty much?
Yeah, the same kind of pipe, same kind of fence,
In the same location.
just new, only, you know, it was dilapidated
More
more.
aesthetics than anything.
So Woodway Parklands fence.
Are we done with the superintendent's report?
Yes.
Any new business?
6:14.
Would we like to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
All right.
So with
Are
Peter
you
and
sure you're in
Reese.
favor of
Yeah,
adjourning the
second.
meeting?
Not really, I'd like to go back to the school, but that's not.